Today's guest is so wonderful. You're going to want to listen because she has so many things in common with maybe where you are in your life. Today's guest is Lauren Bayne. She's your Chief Brand Officer, and she brings 25 years of award-winning expertise to help companies, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders create custom brand ecosystems from the ground up. Through her signature Chief Brand Officer experience, she delivers conceptual brand identity, strategic messaging, copywriting, and website design that attracts premium attention and opens doors before you even enter the room. Lauren has crafted advertising and branding magic for Fortune 500 companies, all the way to visionary startups. Based in Austin, Texas, she uses her proven unicorn brand formula to transform what she calls unicorns in horse clothing into brands that don't just stand out, they stand for something. And that's why you're going to enjoy listening to her today. Welcome to my realm. I'm Tami Jarden, and this is Butterfly Days, the podcast that proves you're not past your prime. You're living in it right now because women don't have expiration dates. Butterfly Days is a celebration of the extraordinary potential of Gen X and Boomer women. Throughout history, women have shared wisdom to uplift and empower one another. And you're about to learn hard-earned wisdom and best-kept secrets from interesting, inspiring women. So if you're ready to embrace your butterfly season with confidence, find joy in the present, and create a legacy that matters, you're in the right place. No more holding back. Let's spread our wings now. Here we go. Welcome to my realm. This is Tami Jarden, and you're listening to Butterfly Days. Today's episode is with Lauren Bayne. I cannot wait to talk to Lauren. She is such a cool woman in a business space, but also she's going through so many of the things that we are. And just to hear her experience and how she's navigating it is going to be amazing. I think you guys will love Lauren as much as I do. Welcome to the show, Lauren Bayne, your chiefbrandofficer.com.
That's right. Thank you so much, Tami. I'm so happy to be here.
I know. I'm really glad to have you. So, Lauren, I often start by asking people, because you don't look it, how old are you, baby?
Well, I'm 49.80. I don't know. My birthday's in like 6 weeks, and I'll turn 50 October.
Oh, my
17th.
goodness. You're going to be the big 50. Well, it's a wonderful decade, and I have very high hopes for you. So, Lauren, one of the things that's really interesting, I think, about you is that you started the business you currently run, which is your chiefbrandofficer.com. You started at what age?
Well, I went to the University of Texas in Austin and I got my degree in advertising. I didn't start out with that. I was going to be a broadcast journalism major, and I thought I was going to report the news and be the girl on the street. But then I had to take a course outside of journalism, but in the communications college. So I took intro to advertising. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And I got in there, and my professor was like, you have a natural gift for this. And so this my major. And so, yeah, my degree is in advertising, and I got into the creative sequence at UT as well. It's called Texas Creative now. And that's where you are able to hone your craft and build a portfolio as far as being an art director or writer and creating the goods that help sell products and services.
Nice. And so I know you've worked for Fortune 500 companies and some really cool visionary startups, but the business that you're doing now is entrepreneurial, correct?
Correct. So on September 11th, 2001, I was 26 years old.
Whoa.
I was 26 years old. I got the job that I wanted, my dream job out of college. I was working as a copywriter at GSD&M, which is known for Don't Mess with Texas. They're the ad agency behind all the amazing Southwest Airlines commercials and events that you've seen. And I was doing great. I was winning awards, and I was growing my own portfolio, and I was going on big shoots and doing great. But at 26 years old, I was also reading a book called Quarter Life Crisis.
Oh, wow. Quarter life. That sounds overwhelming.
Right? How could I already be having like a quarter life crisis? But I was just at this pivotal point where I was like, what's next? Because I kind of felt like I had done all the things I was supposed to do, and I got the job, and I was building the portfolio, and I was like, oh, what's next? And,
Yeah.
now that I'm almost 50, looking back, I want to tell that girl, it's okay. It's okay to just be.
Oh,
It's okay to
yeah.
just be. But 9/11 happened, and I was getting ready for work, and I was heading into work when I saw the news, and I didn't have anybody there. I didn't have any connection to New York. I didn't have anything besides just the human experience of what that day represented for so many people in our generation.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Roy Spence, who's the S in GSD&M, and he's written a book called "It's Not What You Sell, It's What You Stand For," and he's one of the founders.
Whoa. That's a good title.
Great book. And he was such a mentor for me, still is a mentor to this day, in helping me see the connection between commerce and craft and what we do through the lens of the advertising business model. And he was a trailblazer in purpose-based branding. And so and in that book, when you see how he talks about when we are doing our ads, what they're ultimately doing for the business and for the consumer, it can be purposeful if the founder and the advertiser are in cahoots on making that happen. So at the time, I was applying that even to myself, and it just really shook me. I think it's the age I was at and the place I was at in my life that I was like, I am vulnerable. Nothing really big had happened like that in my adult life. And so I went into work that day, and I was having a hard time processing everything that was going on. We didn't really have the internet yet, so we didn't know what's going on. And so my creative director had come into my cubicle, and we talked a little bit about what was going on in the world. And then he said, so those Chili's baby back rib table tents, we're going to need a couple of like $2 off value lines by the end of today. Can you write me like 10 lines? We're going to do $13.99 to $11.99. And it's baby back ribs, so just give me some headlines. I was like, okay. And so when he walked out of my cube, it was so pivotal for me, Tami, because it truly was the records for each in my life where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just selling ribs for a living.
Oh.
And if the strategy department had come down and been like, no, 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 now more than ever, we need to gather around a hot plate of food with our loved ones, like they would have been a spin to make me feel better.
Yeah. I love that. And there's a place for that too, but that's not where you were. You were at something richer and deeper at the place you were at.
I just felt this. I had never looked at work and your career and the job that you do as something bigger than your craft, and you get paid and then you go and do your hobbies and your interests and your other passions. And there's plenty of people wired that way.
Yeah.
And I was just discovering myself. I was learning that like, oh, I am not like an employee mindset in that space where I can't help craft the narrative for what we're doing as a business. And Entrepreneur Magazine had just started getting delivered to our agency too. So I was soaking it up, and I was like, what is entrepreneur? What is this? Like, I didn't really understand any of that. I didn't know what any of that was. So I was obsessed with the people behind the businesses that started them, founders and entrepreneurs. At the time, my role was really working with CMOs. I didn't really have a seat at the table next to the founder of Pennzoil or AT&T or Southwest Airlines, So I was talking with the CMOs about ad campaigns. But what I loved was the side gig work I was doing with the biggest pizza chain restaurant here in Austin and the biggest running shoe store here in Austin and one of these biggest hair salons. Like, I loved working with those small to medium-sized businesses. So to answer your question, that's a long story to get back to the entrepreneurial part of things. I fell in love with entrepreneurs and entrepreneurialism and was trying to figure out how to bridge that with my craft of being able to do advertising and branding for services. So I ended up leaving because I really wanted to start my own business.
Wow.
I want to leave this agency world. I think I need to be in a smaller agency anyway. But for me personally, I was like, I really want to try and start my own business. So I saw a need for kids after school to be playing like we did growing up. And that before after school enrichment was a big thing, kids were just kind of hanging out and waiting from 3 to 6 for their parents to show up. And I was, this is an opportunity. I should create a business that seizes the 3 to 6 time and get outdoors and playing. So I created Austin Outdoor Kids, A-OK. It had this,
I love that.
Yeah, it had this awesome branding. I bought a van. I picked kids up. We went out and did all this stuff. So from that was probably 2002, 2003. Since then, my story has been over the last 25 years going in and out of starting a business, getting another opportunity, seeing what the true realities are of being an entrepreneur financially.
Yeah.
the runway you need, and just having the ability to like go back to an agency or go brand side or go be an entrepreneur. And so that's what I've kind of done over the last 25 years. But then when I became a mom, that's kind of what changed.
The game changer. Yeah. Yeah. So your creative effort the iteration that we're looking at right now, how old were you when you started that? Because this is a recent venture, correct?
Correct.
In other words, after 45.
Correct. So in 2019, I became chief brand officer of a company here in Austin, Texas, a short-term rental company that had about 50 properties throughout Austin and the Hill Country. And she hired me to come in to help turn her into a brand. She'd already been operating for over a decade, but no one really knew who they were. And so she really had a desire to be a brand and to have a big brand identity and have someone in-house helping her with a lot of initiatives. I think because I'm an entrepreneur, plus I'm a creative / chief brand officer, I have a unique combination of skill sets that helps people like you, people selling their products or services, not only like do some business modeling and some business stuff, but also think about that through the lens of how that's being expressed to the audience, that it all cohesive.
Yeah.
So I was doing that when COVID hits, 2020, and we rebranded, we renamed, we did everything. And I was basically wearing the hat of many, many titles, from creative director to art director to copywriter to PR to event producer, so many different things, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Then my mom was diagnosed with dementia.
Wow.
Both of my parents were diagnosed with kidney cancer, and this was all in 2021.
Wow. I think there's so many people listening right now that can so relate to you with parents that are, the attendant issues that go with later aging and, all of that in the middle of trying to do regular life, all the regular stresses, business, kids, and then aging parents.
Yep. And I didn't really see it coming. It was on the heels of COVID. It was the heels of this new job. And it felt kind of acute. I thought that maybe this was just like something I was going to just kind of jump in and fix and get it all figured out for them and help them out. I'm an only child as well. And that turned out to be the last 4.5 years of a lot of caregiving and a lot of life change for me. So when I reflect on a lot of people use, and I think they say AC, or after coronavirus, after COVID.
Yeah. After COVID, yeah.
2020 after, it's like, wow, these last 5 years have been pretty transformational. I know that's been for a lot of people, but through the lens of adding caregiving to it, and then having my older son start transitioning into college, and like that stage of life, sending your kid off, it truly is the sandwich generation. I think I've told you this before. There's this comedian that says, like, it's so great when you're empty nesting and your last kid leaves the house and you're standing there with your wife in the driveway and you're waving, and then they take off and you're sad and the tears are drying and you're like, okay, we did it, hun. And you turn around, you start walking into your house and you hear honk, honk, honk. And you turn around and you're like, oh, they must have forgotten something. And it's your parents zooming into the driveway.
We're here.
We're ready for you to help us now. Oh.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of us are finding that we thought that these years would just be wide open, but they're not necessarily. And in your case, you're not only navigating health challenges that have come on board, but more specifically, dementia. Lauren, what have you learned that you didn't realize before you had to caretake your mom losing her memory?
I think early warning signs. I think is it Emma or Emmy Willis? I never can remember. Emma.
Yeah.
Emma Willis has done a really fantastic job with FTD, especially this type of dementia that my mom and Bruce Willis has.
Oh, wow.
Helping with giving a framework for people like me and caretakers to kind of understand what those signs were, what she's experiencing, and just she's helping give a roadmap for caregivers for sure. But I think the biggest learning was like 60 to 70, because my mom really obviously at age 70 was clearly showing signs. But so many people say with FTD, frontal temporal disorder, that it's a lot of aphasia, it's a lot of words, but it's also a lot of personality changes.
Yeah.
Because that part of your brain's atrophied that really controls a lot of your personality.
Oh, wow.
It presents early on as like mental illness. It's like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden they're acting so manic, or they're acting so bipolar, or they're acting so depressed. And so they get a bunch of mental illness meds to kind of keep that at bay. And they're probably at an age where they don't want to run off and go get their brain scanned, you know? So it's just this tricky place where you're just kind of like, what's going on with my loved one? I want to help.
Something's up, but I can't tell what. Wow.
And I would say the biggest thing I've learned through most of this is that the deterioration of it also depends on who you who your loved one is. If your loved one is a fighter and is like, nope, this isn't going to happen to me, put me in OT, put me in speech therapy, I'm going to do all the things, I'm going to change my meds, I'm going to start eating this, I'm going to start doing that. Like if you have that loved one that's willing to like fight it as long as they can and do everything, it's a different experience. And I don't mean this to sound badly, but my mom suffered from a lot of victimhood. Like a lot of the ways she looked at the things that happened to her in life was very victim-y. And I think in a way, oh, here come, I knew I'd cry at some point.
We're with you, baby.
In a way, I try to spin it so that as much as she suffered with that mindset, and I tried so hard to help her with that,
Yeah.
the gift it gave me was not being that way, you know? Of really trying to do hard stuff and things that happen to us that are out of our control through the lens of like, I'm not going to be victimized from it, and I'm just going to learn how to like pivot or see it as a lesson or do other things that will help me not be so downtrodden, you know? So
that's amazing, by the way. I mean, I love that you didn't allow it to suck you under. But instead you said, where's the lesson? I mean, that's wisdom right there.
yeah.
I mean, it probably doesn't feel like it on an ordinary day when you're ready to throttle someone, but or when you're sobbing on the floor asking God just why.
Yeah.
But I think I'm really proud of you for thinking that way. So your mom was diagnosed approximately 2020? Or thereafter?
In 2021, she lived in the Woodlands, which is outside of Houston. I'm in Austin. And that
in her own home with your dad, correct? Okay.
And the initial neurologist just kind of said, let's give her some meds. It's probably Alzheimer's, you know, like just
Oh, geez.
I think it's called Aricept. And she had a reaction to that. And she could speak and was coherent at the time. She knew something was going on, but she didn't want to face it. And
Right.
she didn't want to take meds for it. She's not, I mean, she wasn't the most compliant patient in the world. She was just very much like, hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
That frustrated me about her in life because I was like, no, take care of it. Do something. And she was like, what will be, will be. I'm like,
yeah.
ugh. But
nothing we can do.
Kind of, yeah. And in some respect, I get that. And there's some peace in that too. You know?
Well, it is, you know, sometimes maybe you would comment to this. I think one of the most difficult things in working with our parents now is actually allowing in our own head the room that it is their body and they have the right to make choices that we pretty much want to sit on them for, but it's their right because it's their body, you know, and it maybe it's not what we would choose, but do we want our kids deciding for us? I mean, you know, we need to be reciprocal in how we think about that. And did you run up against that?
Not until I met you. Seriously, not until I met you, because my instinct and the business I created, I ended up in 2023, when we'll get back to this, when I was like, I want to carve out a new business model for me where I am no longer jumping into people's lives who aren't asking for help. And I am here for the people that are like, I need.
Got you, girl.
Yeah. So to your point, no, I didn't have that model. I don't know if I even heard that from my parents, because my parents were very accepting of my type A driven, take care of business, make shit happen kind of person.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know where those boundaries were to be able to say, like, this is okay. If you, like, throughout all of their lives, that they've been smokers since they were 15 or 16 years old, you know?
Yeah, that's tough.
My dad's almost 80 years old and still smokes 2 packs of Marlboro Reds a day, and it kills me. But it wasn't until I was older that I had to, like, have peace with it and be like, it's their decision. Because when you really love somebody a whole bunch, even just regular people. Like we want just regular people on the street to behave better through our lens of how we define that. But when your loved ones are doing something, you're like, could we maybe not do that?
Yeah, maybe we don't. Yeah.
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 It's hard.
And then we start thinking, no, you shouldn't, is starts coming out of our mouth.
So you helped me a lot with seeing the autonomy of my parent because I really didn't like I would have there was a point. I will say this. I remember when my mom came to Austin and I wanted to take her to Lukenbach. I want to take them both. I think both of them came. And I was like, let's go to Lukenbach. Let's go see Willie Nelson, whatever was happening. And I was like, it'll be cool, it'll be fun. Because all she wanted to do was stay at home, watch football, and play cards. And I was like, I don't know. Can we just
Wow, she's truly Texan, but go ahead.
it's I was like, can we come do something? Can we get out of the house? I'm just like, I'm not good to sit. And so she looked at me and she's like, I'm so sorry. I know this breaks your heart and I don't want to break your heart because I want to make you happy, but I'm tired. I don't want to. It's hot. I don't want to stand. And the way she voiced it, it wasn't defensive. I was like, oh, my mom is like an independent person of me and has her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That moment, right?
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I'm almost 50 years old and I've needed a lot of schooling and saying this is my parents' life. I don't need to get into it.
Yeah, but it's hard because it directly impacts the choices they are making. You're going to be, it's like with your kids, it's just the other direction. You're going to be sucked into this whole, if they're making a ridiculous choice, you're going to go down that path. But I mean, that's part of loving somebody, right? That's just the gig, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can try to influence to the degree that you think is wise, but in the end, people have parental autonomy. You did such a brilliant job of framing that with that phrase. I think that's right. So your mom now, so she lived independently with your dad. This is a long-term marriage. That they're still
16.
Oh,
76 now.
Oh, and she's 76 now. And so they live together in a town a ways away from you, a couple hours, right? Yeah. And now, these years later, where is she now?
So when she got sick, and I would say it was August of 2021, she said, Lauren, I can't pay the bills anymore. I don't know how to use the computer. And I was like,
Oh.
can't open. Like she was obsessed with her computer. She knew how to do all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, if she's saying that, then she's actually admitting something's going on.
Yeah, she's telling. Yeah.
So I went over there. We laid out file folders on the living room floor. We started going through her bills. She was telling me she doesn't like my process. I was like, I know, but this is just how I do it. But I got all there. And I thought I had a long time. I was like, okay, we'll start paying your bills.
Yeah.
Logins. We'll figure this out. I'll help you. This is going to be a long decline. No.
Yeah.
Ironically, oh my gosh, I didn't think about it till just now when I started this story with September 11th. Tami. September.
Oh, I have chills.
So September 11th, 2021 was when my dad called me and said, we're in the hospital with your mom. I never thought about it until just now. Wow. So I had a...
that is sort of interesting in that 20 years is a cycle.
Right.
Right? And it's almost like there was a transition. You would have naturally been transitioning developmentally anyway in 20 years.
Right.
So isn't that interesting? So in 2021, your dad calls from the hospital. Is this correct?
That's right. And he says, I've taken your mom to the hospital. She's acting like she's sick. I don't know what's going on with her. He had a really hard time caregiving her there, and she was fighting the doctor. She didn't want to be in there. And so I was like, I guess I got to go into Houston. And so I left the next day and I went in and I could tell something was off with her. And I thought it was weird because just the month earlier, she seemed fine. I was like, does dementia progress this fast? And so that was the beginning of me understanding how the brain is affected by other little physical issues. So like the UTI, like if you have a parent that seems like they might have dementia, but they might just have a UTI that affects your brain.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So she was behaving in a way that some of the people that were giving me help were like, maybe she's a UTI. Why don't you just take her to the hospital? So when we took her to the hospital, she fought it a lot, but they scanned her. That was the beginning of me. Now I feel like I'm either disassociated or numb to watching like having to be a viewer of watching your
Yeah.
parents, or my dad had a bunch of stuff too. My mom getting Haldol, syringed into her arm, and then
Yeah.
her fighting me, her grabbing my hair and saying, "I hate you. Why did you do this to me?" Like things like that. What?
Oh.
That was the beginning of it. Now I'm like, okay, this is just part of the deal. But at the time, I was like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
What a shock.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
started bawling, crying.
Your nice mother.
Yes, and she loves me. Like I was her whole reason for being, as she's told me my whole life.
Wow, kiddo.
But the nurse was helpful. She's like, this is not her. This is just what she's going through. So when you
Yeah.
scanned her, they're like, did you know she has a big tumor on her kidney? And I was like, wait, what? Because I knew my dad did all year 2021. And so I was like, I had no idea. Isn't that weird? But also like they've been together
That's
forever.
crazy.
Different kidneys, right kidney, left kidney, but both had tumors and both needed to get their kidneys removed. So now
Wow.
COVID had kind of come back, so getting hospital rooms was hard.
Yeah.
They stabilized her in this ER, and they're like, we need to move her to a hospital bed. But I was at one of those independent ones,
Yeah.
not attached to a hospital. So they were calling around. They're like, the closest one we can get is down in Corpus Christi. And I was like, wait.
In Corpus. Wow.
I was like, no, we can't go to Corpus. I was like,
This is hours away for those of you who are not blessed enough to live in Texas.
hours away, and hours away from Austin.
Yeah.
How am I going to manage that? So I just put out a text to all my friends, and thankfully I had this wonderful friend who knew a urologist in Austin. He was like, let's get her up here. And so
Nice.
we got her checked into Austin. And so that's how she moved here, in the back of an ambulance. And
Oh.
I was following by myself behind
Yeah. Yeah.
watching her drive to Austin.
God, dog,
And that's how we
Lauren.
got to Austin.
You know, though, you did something here that I would point out to the audience is a great tip. It's a wise move. You used your lifelines. When you got it up against the wall, you turned around and you said, who can help me? And that actually served you all very well because it got her to Austin, which is where you live. And that was much easier for you to care for her.
I know that we talk about, and you really teach this a lot through your methodology and everything, but the friendships in this stage of life for me really solidified during all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see who's on your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For someone who is like, oh, maybe I don't have a lot of friends, or I don't get invited to a lot of stuff. Like those insecure dum-dum people. When you ask for help and all these people show up, you're like, you're good. You have friends.
Like maybe I'm doing something right. Yeah.
Like these people wouldn't show up for you like this. And so that was very precious. That was helpful as well. So like, again, not saying like every single tragic thing in your life has a lesson. I like to look at it through that lens, but in a weird way, that was an interesting way of having my friends show up in my life and having me see, like, you're fine. You've got friends. You've got people in your corner. You've got people that want to show up. Maybe you need to reach out more. Maybe it's not you getting invited.
Wow.
And all that.
There's a point. Yeah. Brilliant. So your mama gets there and they do surgery, or what happens then?
Yeah, they had to check her into the ER. They had to put her through the whole system. We had to set up surgery. I had to navigate my dad. I had to figure out where they were going to live, Airbnb.
My Lord, child.
And then that's when I told my boss, I was like, I don't know how I can keep going because this has become my full-time job, managing the two of them and everything that comes out of this. And then I have my own kids and everything else. So I told her that I couldn't really work full-time anymore, but I would keep helping through a contractor model. Like you would be my client. And so I just kind of went back to being an independent contractor. And so it's part of my story. I kind of go in and out, an entrepreneur and working for somebody and kind of going back. But it's interesting to reflect on it and see how it's always pivoted based off of what's happening in my life.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I think you share that with so many women. The lucky thing here is that you were an entrepreneur, so that you had a flexibility that maybe or maybe not you wouldn't have in the workforce. But so your mom has the surgery, and then is she still able to live independently for any period?
Well, with my dad, yes. And it was fascinating too when she kind of came out of everything to see, because that was what one of the psychiatrists were telling me, is like, since she has all this urinary issues going on and they can mess up the brain, let's see after we get the tumor out and things come down where her
see what the rebound is.
Be with her dementia. So at this point I was like, do y'all want to stay here? Do you want to go back home? And she went back home with my dad and didn't want to be there. Didn't recognize it, didn't want to be there, wanted to come back. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. But sometimes with dementia, change is really tricky for them.
Yeah.
So she goes back with your dad.
To the Woodlands, to her house, doesn't want to be there.
It's
Doesn't,
about 2 hours away from Lauren, right?
yeah, two
Okay.
and a half, yeah. And then that's when my dad's like, I don't know what to do. She wants to move closer to you. And I was like, well, let's go. I had when this all started and she said, I can't pay my bills anymore. I told my husband, I'm like, we're going to need to buy a place near us, like one day when
Yeah.
they have to move here. So we actually had already been under contract during this August to September time period. And we
Yeah.
closed like September. No, we closed in October. Yeah. So we ended up closing in October on this little townhouse down 2 miles away from my house.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a long, like in a while from now. And then when I knew that they were gonna have to move in, we got it and a good,
We got to get her ready.
but we got to get it ready and it needs to be gutted. So my sweet contractor gutted the place, got it all together in 30 days. Like
God bless. Yeah.
I did the whole thing so it was kind of dementia friendly. Like we did everything
Yeah.
like through the lens of aging.
Yay.
And then my parents went from like 2,500 square feet to 950.
Yeah. Just like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot on lots of levels. But so then he was able to caretake her there. How did he, because now this is not somebody who probably envisioned himself as a caregiver and now he's in that role. How did that, first of all, what kind of guy is he? And then how did it go over?
Well, he was 3 years older than my mom when they met, so I believe he was like a junior or senior in high school when they met in Long Island, New York. And then he was drafted, and he proposed to my mom from overseas. I don't know where he was, but he wasn't in for very long. But when he came back, then they got married, and she was still young, and they just started their life as very, very young people. And so a lot of my life growing up, I saw a very independent man. He also was an only child.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he loved me and he loved my mom, but he's good on his own. Like he didn't need a lot of attention.
He's very independent.
And he didn't really need to give a ton of attention all the time, but he was present.
Oh,
Yeah, and he was available, but he just wasn't like, I think my mom
Yeah.
wanted a smothering husband. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
She would have loved someone to just like fawn over her, but he was fine. He did the thing.
he loved her, obviously, but
Yeah.
he's probably more a man of that era too. I mean, sounds
Yeah.
like.
It was for sure. He was ready to walk in the door and have what did they hand? What was like
The martini,
Yeah.
and
Take the jacket and go sit
Yeah.
down, and you don't have to do anything.
here are your slippers, dear. Yeah,
Just go.
don't we all want that?
Exactly.
So he's having to caretake her. Are you managing that fatigue as well at this point?
Yes, and
There's
that's
no way he's not fried.
fried, and it was hard for me because I had too much of like the history of their relationship blending in with the now of caregiving, and so there were a lot of
Yes.
things that I couldn't delineate between what is him not being like a husband that would step in and do this stuff versus somebody that's just caregiver burnout. And
Yeah,
like I'm living with someone that's now gone. This is the person
Right.
I've been with since I was 20 years old, and now she's
Oh,
carrying
wow.
on a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And so much of watching them in the early years too of her disease progression, it was hard for me because my mom was type A driven, just like me, took care of business.
Yeah.
My dad was kind of a kept man a little bit. He didn't have to pay
Yeah.
bills. He didn't know how to do any of that stuff. He didn't have to do laundry.
Yeah.
And now he's having to like do his own laundry, do the dishes.
Bill came due.
Exactly. Figure out the bill. So I ended up becoming the what's it called? Like something facto.
De facto, yeah.
White.
The domestic engineer of the household. Yeah.
That was weird because I was my dad's daughter, but now I'm playing his wife and I'm also playing his caregiver because he kept having nursing issues.
Oh, yeah. Because he's got health issues as well.
And I was landlord.
Oh, perfect.
So when he needed the
Yeah.
AC vent changed, I was like,
Oh.
I don't want to do this. If you're an actual, yeah, anyway. So for the first few years it was fine and it was good. But yeah, I've kind of reached a little bit of a burnout point here in this final year. And in May, we decided to move my mom to memory care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was hard. It was very hard. It's probably where she needed to be. But I have learned so much about the whole system, Medicaid, Medicare, private nursing versus ones that accept Medicaid, home health versus hospice, because there's hospice
Yeah.
help too. And just it's so hard to navigate this if you're just starting out because there's just no real manual for it all. There are definitely some resources I could share, but everybody's journey is different and the way we react to is different. We have family members to navigate. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Didn't see
It's a whole thing. Wow. So now she is getting care as she needs it, and your dad is able to still live in the condo and do his thing, and you take care of him because who are we kidding? This is the guy who was kept. So,
Yeah, he's doing better. We've had some good conversations. I have tried to look
aw,
at, like, I truly think, because one of my mom's best friends said, you saved your mom. She was probably going to pass away in
aw,
2021. Like, she was so skinny. She was so frail. She had cancer in her
yeah,
body. Like,
yeah,
and they were like, if you didn't step in and do what I beat myself up about sometimes, like too meddly, too jumping in and to help people when they don't ask for it. I say this to my
yeah,
therapist a lot. I said, I always feel like I'm standing on the corner holding a fire extinguisher, watching a house burn and go, like, do they want the fire extinguisher? Do they want the fire extinguisher?
God, I love you so much. Yeah, I get that. I do get that.
Do they want
And maybe that's the, that's the point of this part of life is that you have to differentiate. You have to decide, and you did. But I think it sounds like you did the right thing by
Yeah.
your mama, by the
I
way.
do feel like God gave me this time over the last 4.5 years to kind of close some narratives that my mom and I had had for really since I left for college. Like, we were so close, we were so tight. And I'm sure there was some codependency, dysfunctionalism about a mom and her daughter, and we were tight.
Yeah.
And then me developing my own person and who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I think she felt conflict to that because it was different than some of her ideals and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what it gave me was the ability to, like, like, dementia has definitely that my mom can rage, she can get mad, but not like she
Yeah.
used to. It has softened her in a way that's made her very sweet, very
Oh.
much like we can have these conversations with each other. She's like, I love you. So every time I see her, she just like kisses all over me and tells me how much she loves
Oh.
me. And so I do
Oh.
feel like I've gotten this beautiful ending chapter.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
I hadn't driven there that day, I don't know what would have happened in 2021. And I would have had a bunch of different stories to live with that we hadn't really settled. And so it's been nice in that respect. But what the other part of it is my dad and I were cool. Like, we were fine. But now over the last 4.5 years, that's like, it's been tough. I've seen signs.
Well, because you're actually dealing with smaller issues together. I mean, this is the work of intimacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that you got to put up with each other's foibles and being dumb.
Yeah, exactly. And I just had not been exposed to any of this side of him. And that's
Right.
another interesting thing because my mom would tell me these things, and we were always usually like pro Don because my
Yeah.
mom could be kind of a like, just
Yeah.
things she could say. We were like, oh, poor Don. And then she'd get mad about that. But now I'm seeing
Yeah.
the side of him that I'm like, oh, maybe you were right all these years. Like, I am seeing some of this side of him. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to see the side of him. So I am looking for the lesson in that as well to figure out,
Yeah.
like, why has this moment in time made me have this connection with him that it feels dramatic at times and it feels heated, but I'm trying to do my best to not let it metabolize that way. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And what does it mean to love someone who and fully as who they are? Because as kids, we sort of want to idealize our parents, and that keeps them safely on a shelf that looks really good. But to love them fully. But the other thing is when you're talking old age, sometimes you are talking, maybe that's not exactly who you would have gotten 20, 30 years ago if you'd gotten to know him. Sometimes our edges are a little bit rougher. We don't temper our words as much, and that makes us more difficult to deal with. In old age, there can be low grade pain going on that makes people a little bit irritable. So there's just a lot of stuff in there, I think. Bless your heart.
No, it helps me so much, you being in my again, I say this all the time about the clients that have come into my life. Like, you have really helped me with my prayer for empathy, because it is truly something I've been begging to see, because I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to be frustrated. Like, my dad hangs up on me because I wouldn't come spread his blanket out for him yesterday. I was like, you can do that. That's not me.
Well, you are mean, Lauren. I meant to bring that
I'm
up.
a meanie. And I just couldn't stop thinking about that. I was also trying to think through the lens of like, okay, in 5 minutes, nothing, like no less than 5 hours or 5 days, are you going to feel bad that you didn't just go spread his blanket out for him? Like, just go do it. It was hard for him. He got it back from the laundromat and didn't realize he just needed to go like that and put it back on the bed.
Surprise.
Yeah. So I think it's teaching me more empathy, more compassion.
Yeah. I think we didn't anticipate our parents being more mother bleeding work than not that my parents are, they're perfect. In case my mother's listening, I want to be clear about that. But I mean, I just think that we did not anticipate that our parents might be as much or more work as the kids.
No.
And that's not against them. That's more about just a generalized report from where we stand, that we just didn't expect that. So we're trying to do us, and then it turns out and we're supposed to monitor their stuff too. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's also an honor. I don't want to, I mean, if your parents loved you well, to be there for them, even if it's a pain. I mean, I would rather support my parents and have it be a pain than know that I didn't.
I remember when I was doing that remodeling, there was a worker that came in and I was telling him the backstory, and he was helping me like do plumbing or something. Mm-hmm. And he didn't speak complete English, but it didn't matter. But I think the reason I say that is because even in the broken English, it was more powerful to me in a way. Like, it was like, oh, you're blessed. And I was like, oh, I know. And he's like, no. You're going to be blessed because of what you're doing for your parents. I was like, what do you mean? He breaks out some scripture about honoring thy mother and thy father. And I am like bawling to the floor, holding like watch.
That it might go well with you all of your years. Yeah.
I was like, what is that? I didn't know. I was like, oh, it made me feel so, like, it was so sweet. And just the way he showed up with that, and he gave me this big hug, and I was like, oh, I love it so much. And it was very poetic for me, especially. So
isn't it amazing that you get what you need sometimes right when you need it? That moment. But it's also commendable for you, Lauren, because you have to be the kind of person that will receive it. A lot of good things can happen to us, but if we're not willing to see them, we miss the opportunity. And you got it. Bravo.
Well, and
nice.
What's great is, like, in 2023, my oldest son was graduating from high school. My parents are from
in the middle of all this.
Well, it was kind of on the back end. So now we've gotten their kidneys removed. We got in their house. They've been
their kidneys removed.
Check. We're disabled. We got some.
They got two between them now.
Yeah. And things kind of settled down. And I went through a lot of personal growth with my son moving or just, graduating, that stage of life. And it felt like the first time in my life in so long that I was like, I have time for me. Yeah. I had never felt that way. And so I was 48. I was doing the math on when my mom's symptoms showed up, which I believe was about 60.
Okay.
If I don't pivot now, I have 10 years. And I shouldn't say that because I don't want to put that out in the world, because really I have forever. I have forever. But the practical side of me was like, what if I only had 10 good years left of this
then what?
Cognitive brain? And it was so solidified by all the work we did together, even writing the work for what you do for people, being like, well, no, after 50, like, if you reframe it, it's like, no, you don't have 10 years left. You have 10 years to freaking blossom and grow and bloom and fly and all that. But my mindset at the time was like, I better hurry. Yeah. I will say that did inform a lot of my copywriting for you. Like, once you, like, I was like, you have sand left in your hourglass. I was like, wait, who gives me the permission to say that? And I was like, Tami, like, she's telling me that I have plenty of sand left. And maybe 10 years is what your mom had. So sure, buckle down and go create something awesome. But
bear that in mind. You would be foolish not to at least keep it somewhere in mind. But you also, I love that you're saying, I also don't need to chain myself to that story before it's reality.
That's right. So I was like, okay, I have 2 years to figure this out before I turn 50. I want to do something. I want to do something different. I want to pivot. I don't know what it is. And so it was the first time in my life I ever invested in me in professional development. And so I just sunk into masterminds. I sunk into coaches. I was doing all these things. We met in our mastermind group. And I was like, I need to figure out my pivot, who I want to serve, how my unique gifts can help others,
I love
what
this.
that looks.
Go girl.
And so ultimately, I was like, the title I had at my last job was Chief Brand Officer. And that title is a little nebulous. Not every C-suite has this at businesses, but it's truly a role that I believe a company that really wants to be distinctive and set themselves apart, or really have somebody that's a guardian of their brand. It's an important role because it's very strategic and very creative. And while I was a creative, and that is what I did, and I was a creative director, I think that I always thought very strategically because of that entrepreneurial side. So like the work we would create, I wanted to make sure it made sense for the business. And so that's what a chief brand officer does. They really look at the entire umbrella of the business to make sure that every single touch point and the way that the brand goes out and it's consumed by the audience is very strategic and it's very cohesive. And so I was like, I'm just going to develop a chief brand officer experience for entrepreneurs and companies and thought leaders. I love my thought leaders who are going to go out and sell their products or service or message with the world. And I want them to show up distinctively and cohesively to help solidify the reputation, to control the narrative they have with people talking about them, and to give them some memory and meaning when they go on stages or write books or do podcasts, to help say like butterfly days means this. The hourglass means this. And so every single one of the people I work with now have very strategic and conceptual verbal and visual brand identities that I hope will last them forever.
No, it's so true because Lauren did my website and TamiJarden.com. That's TamiJorden.com. And she did this brilliant thing where she sort of made a butterfly shape on there, but it's actually an hourglass tilted, because Lauren really helped me think about the idea that the sand isn't almost all the way out of your hourglass. You still have so much good time left to do something amazing. And part of what I love about you, Lauren, is that you have a very creative way that you see the world and the way that you understand message. And it's kind of neat that you're mixing that so beautifully in an entrepreneurial way, but it's hearkening back to what your mentor taught about, having purpose and meaning. Like in this stage of your life, you're really in that zone now, because you are creating websites for some really beautiful voices in the world and able to amplify them. You're the megaphone.
Yeah.
A really creative, pretty megaphone.
A unicorn, yes.
A unicorn. Yeah, tell us about the unicorn in horses' clothing. Is that how you say it?
Yes, in horses' clothing, because yes, I see so many brands and so many products and services just blend in, and they all say the same thing, and they all use marketing lingo and
blah, blah, blah.
And they drive sales. I'm sure they do. But as far as like what my passion is, and there's a philosophy when it comes to marketing and selling things, but I have just been taught to show up creatively and differently to stand out. And so that's what a unicorn represented to me. And so for me, it's just like we're all just like a sea of horses. Who is the unicorn in aging women? Who's the unicorn in confidence speaking? Who's the unicorn in brand strategy, like for the thought leaders? And who's the unicorn in ice cream? Who's the unicorn in senior home care? Like I'm branding a guy right now who is senior home health care, which ironic again. Not
wow.
Yeah, he's in Houston actually, but he offers the exact same services so many home care agencies offer. So I'm like, we got to show up differently. We've got to tell your story. And so I'm so passionate about a founder's story, and I really, really feel so called to helping people get their message out there, but also making sure it's creatively expressed.
I love that. Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. And what I love about what you're saying is a lot of the women that I am hearing from, who are in this audience, are saying, I really want to do something that's deeply meaningful to me for my, post 50 life, and I'm trying to figure out what that is or how I should show up. For some people, that's volunteer. For other, it's a career change kind of a thing. And some people, it's avocationally. I still need to stay in the job I'm in because it pays what I need it to pay, but I'm going to do something special outside that. And what I like about what you've done that I think applies no matter what in what camp you're in that on that spectrum is that you have thought about what your gifts, talents, and abilities are, your strengths, and then you've paired that with what your passion is to, for how you want to show up. And this is such a great niche place for a woman who wants to live deeply meaningfully, is giving voice to entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I mean, this is freaking cool use of your skills, baby. I think it's a great example to other people. Wow, look what she did. There wasn't exactly the hole it wasn't done what you were doing, and you just created one.
Yeah. I had an ad agency of sorts when I was a mom, because I was really trying to bridge the world of advertising and being a mom. And I saw this opportunity when mom advertising became a thing, when a lot of data was coming out that moms are the 80% household spender, and Walmart was starting to target moms. I was like, wait, I need an ad agency. And so I called it Offspring. And that's some of my most favorite work that I did as far as like ad campaigns go. And it was all for family friendly brands. There's any brands whose target market was a mom or a dad or a family or parents. So like Smarty Pants Vitamins. I did a Mother's Day, Father's Day campaign for Deep Eddy Vodka. Had like Dell Children's Hospital.
Whom I do like.
Safe Kids. Yeah, not a bad brand. But that was also something I kind of architected as far as creating a space where I can share my skill sets, but it also kind of combined the stage of life I was in. So now this place that I'm in now is like really wanting to give voice to people like me and entrepreneurs and people that want to share their gifts with the world. And so it's been fun designing that. I'm not going to say it was easy. It's been a year or two in the making of figuring out what this is. But now that I have it, I'm just like, I work with the most amazing people, and everybody I've figured out how to attract, because in the advertising world, it's like, oh, the client and the agency is like it's like a lot of like, well, you told me this, you told me that. There's just a lot of sometimes dysfunction between both entities. And I was like, I just want to work with people that want my services. I don't want to sell them hard. I don't want to get into any weird like dynamic. And so I really did create this space for just the most amazing people. And I'm so excited that next month I'm launching the Unicorn Society, which is basically my community of my brands that I've done work for, and I've created their ecosystems for us to be able to network and talk more about our brands and just meet each other. And then I think from there, I hope that to be the foundation for a movement of people to stand out and to carve out something that's very unique to them. And it's not just colors and typography and branding elements. It's really like how you show up uniquely as you.
Yeah.
It feels like, this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
This is what
and that you're giving the best of yourself, which is distinctive. If it's the best of you, right? I mean, as distinctive as your fingerprint.
Yeah. I think now more than ever with AI and the desire to be with humans. And AI is a beautiful tool. I love it. But, Gary Vee talks a lot about the intellectual property business is what we're all into now. So like we need to make sure that us as an entity, like we look at ourselves that way. And that's more
brilliant
entrepreneurial mindset, but I think it's the future.
I think so too. Man, I have learned so much from you today. And if nobody has said it to you yet, you are an exemplary, honest, decent, beautiful, wonderful daughter, and a marvelous entrepreneur, brave and gutsy and visionary, I think, in what you're doing. And if nothing else, Lauren Bayne, I want you to remember, I'm rooting for you. I'm really proud to be your friend and to have worked with you. I have a great website as a result.
You have a beautiful brand. Beautiful.
Yay, it's a beautiful
Everything
brand.
Is meaning.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being willing to give us your time and your beautiful story today. I think a lot of women are going to relate to the journey that you took as a businesswoman, as a daughter, as just a woman doing her best in this world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
And if anyone ever wants to chat with me, I have a link on my website, laurenbayne.com or yourchiefbrandofficer.com, to just do what I call a dream catcher call. And we can just talk about the dreams
I love
that you
that.
have for your brand. Or if you do want to talk about aging in this stage of life, just write no to all the answers and when you sign onto the calendar, but just book some time with me. I love giving back what I've learned because it's what got me through the last 5 years myself, is leaning on other people and their experiences. So
Oh,
your chief brand
that's
officer.
so beautiful. So it's the dream catcher call. It's a call put out to the unicorns out there. If you've thought I'm such a weirdo, no, you're a unicorn. Good news for you. You're a unicorn, and call Lauren.
Yeah. And yay, you're a weirdo. You're already a step ahead of everyone else. You've already carved out an identity for yourself. I love it.
Well, you're already to the beat of your own drummer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's one of those weirdo lessons that came late in life because I moved a lot. So I always had to be a new student. And I went to 17 different schools, 15 moves. I think that's what it is. Or
Wow.
15 different schools, 17 moves. That's what it is. By the time I was a sophomore in high school. And so a lot. And I always felt like I didn't fit in and confused and like a weirdo and all the things. And there's just that moment, and mine happened in my 50s, when it dawned on me, you're the unicorn. Oh my goodness. You're the unicorn. You don't have to fit in. You can be you. And that is the gift. So if there's anybody listening to this right now, that is certainly one of the beautiful messages I think that you bring in, is that there is power and beauty and so much potential for good if you just be the unicorn.
I love that.
Part of what's wonderful about Lauren Bayne is that she is just brilliant in her ability to think about marketing. And you can hear that in some of the things that she says. And she's very technical and very intentional and specific in how she conceives of helping clients really share with the world what they believe in, right? And I love that about her. But in this interview, she did such a good job of just being a daughter and a woman, and went through so many of the changes that so many of us have. And I hope that you've been touched by her being willing to be authentic and to share. She's a lovely human, and I think it would be such an honor to her to know if she could touch you just by sharing her story. So thank you, and lean into your unicornness this week, you guys. Take care. And remember, I'm rooting for you. I'm so grateful you listened to this episode. I hope it was a real value to you. If there's a sister in your life who needs this message, please share it, just like women have done to lift each other up over the centuries and across cultures. Women lifting each other is so important. It's why I do this work. And to avoid FOMO and keep up leveling your own life, make sure you don't miss the next episode. You may be losing hormones, but your life has given you powerful perspective. And I believe you have something to give that no one else does, that the world needs. So remember, I'm rooting for you. Let's go.